Here. Okay, so first of all, I just want to welcome you to the U at UCalgary event, which is held every year. Congratulations on being admitted to the BHSC program. We're excited to see you guys in September. We've got some amazing students here to talk about their experiences in the program. My name, first of all, is Tharwat Skeek. I'm the Program Engagement Specialist in the BHSC program. I take care of basically the social media. I hope you're all following the BHSC program's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter accounts. I do the website, events. We got many events once you're in the program as well, from alumni events to social to academic. So if you had any questions during the presentation, feel free just to drop it in the chat box. In the end, we will have a question and answer period. But further ado, I'll just hand it over to, I think, Carolyn, who's a fourth year HSOC student. She'll be speaking first.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that intro, Arwat. So excited to welcome everybody to UCalgary today. Just a few quick notes throughout this presentation. We do ask that you keep your mics muted when we're not doing like an interactive activity. Question in the chat will be addressed at the end, or generally speaking. And just as Tharwat mentioned, we will be recording the presentation. So if you don't want to be seen in the recording, please make sure your video is off. Just a quick introduction. So I mentioned my name is Carolyn. I'm a fourth year health and society student. And I'm joined by Noelle. I want to do a quick intro.
Yeah, sorry, I'm Noelle. I am a third year bioinformatics major.
And I'm also joined by Brian.
Hi, everyone. I'm a third year biomedical sciences student.
So somebody that we unfortunately couldn't have with us today, but you will get to know very, very well, is Jennifer Logan, who is our program coordinator. Next slide, please. So just before we get started, I do think it's important to do a land acknowledgement in regards to where the University of Calgary is situated in the territories in which it's on. So the University of Calgary, located in the heart of Southern Alberta, both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, which includes Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nation, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So I think that we can just start with a poll for everyone that's here today. Just let us know how you're feeling about starting university, and we'll give you a minute to respond to that. You can just throw your answer in the chat. So your options are A, excited, B, nervous, C, terrified, D, indifferent, E, eager, F, uncertain, or G, ready to go. So you can feel free to just throw some letters in the chat. A, okay, seeing an excited. That's awesome. F, uncertain, yep. A, eager. Lots of E's for eagers, A for excited. Awesome. So I think it's good that we saw, both, like, a lot of people are super excited and eager. I know somebody was a bit uncertain. I'm sure there's a lot of people that, even among the excitement and eagerness, are feeling a little nervous, maybe a little uncertain. Hopefully we can help ease some of that today. Next slide. So just a bit of an agenda today. This will be a pretty quick presentation, but we're going to start with student intros. So myself, Noelle, and Brian are going to talk through, give a little introduction to our experiences in the BHSC program with a little timeline of our journey over the last 2 to 3 years. And then we're going to conclude with more an informal roundtable discussion topics and some polling questions. Yeah. So with that, I'm happy to pass it on to Noelle to introduce herself.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn, for the introduction. So to represent bioinformatics, I figured I'd start off with the question I always get asked. What is bioinformatics? And honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself, but simply put, bioinformatics is the use of different computational tools to answer complex questions in biology and medicine. So a lot of what you do in BIN courses are composed of different projects and lessons that teach you how to work with big data and to solve some sort of medical problem. And so in the program itself, you'll get the chance to do at least 4 computer science classes and 5 bioinformatics specific courses in which you learn about different bioinformatics techniques, and you'll also get the chance to kind of create your own small, unique bioinformatics research projects as well. All right, so since all of you are going to be entering your first year, I thought I'd start off by talking about my experience as a first year bioinformatics student. I would say right off the bat, the program was quite an adjustment, which is the same with sort of any program at the university. But overall, the major components of bioinformatics that I was new to were our combined medical science courses, which taught us how to write scientific papers, and also our computer science classes. As a bioinformatics major, you have to take 2 computer science classes in your first year, an intro to Python class and an intro to Java class. And as a student that did not have a lot of experience with comp sci prior to entering the program, I thought it was a little bit challenging, but overall, I thought it was a really valuable experience that taught me really useful skills that you can use in almost anything. And you'll notice that kind of when you begin university, that there will be quite a bit of a learning curve, especially if you're doing something new like computer science. But over time, you'll find that your hard work was worth it, and that you'll really learn how to balance your schoolwork, your extracurriculars, and also your social life to sort of maximize your uni experience. And so on the right is just a picture of one of my friends and I chilling in a medical science class. And that's also another really nice part about the BHSC program. It's that since the program is so small, you really get the chance to make those close connections with a lot of your friends. All right, so another really cool part of the Health Sci program are the different opportunities you get exposed to. So since BHSC is a research-based program, that ends in an honors thesis, there's a lot of opportunity to get funded for your research during the summer. And there's also more opportunities to partake in research. So the really nice part about this, especially if you're a bioinformatics student, is that a lot of research labs are actually looking to take on bioinformatics students because there aren't a lot of people in their labs that can do data analysis. And also in all of your bioinformatics specific courses as well, you work in either groups or alone to create your own small but unique bioinformatics research projects. And so, like, for example, I did a course last semester called Medical Science 523, which was called Artificial Intelligence Applications in Health. And in that course, I basically got to work with data and different machine learning algorithms and tools to determine different factors that were involved in heart failure. And so on the left is a picture of me at the Pure Celebration of Achievement. So Pure is a summer studentship you can win as a student at the University of Calgary. And so I was selected as a keynote speaker to kind of talk about my research experience as a bioinformatics student and the research that I did over the summer last year during that event. And then also as a bioinformatics student, since you do have that background in data science, research, and computer science, which is also kind of unique, you can focus a lot of your extracurricular activities towards that. And so a lot of the clubs that I do are currently involved and are centered around artificial intelligence and medicine. And so the picture on the right is of me with one of my clubs, and we just won the Club of the Year award last year. So that's that picture. All right. And then finally, I would say that one of the nicer parts of the bioinformatics program is actually how small our major is. So bioinformatics generally tends to be the smallest major in health sci, which is super nice because you can form a really close group of friends that help you get through all those tough bioinformatics and comp sci classes. And I think it also helps you get more one-on-one attention with your professors and more support to help you excel as a bioinformatics student. For example, like with the director of bioinformatics right now, I'm creating new projects with him as part of some of my extracurricular activities. So there's a lot of opportunity for that sort of collaboration and skill development aspect of things. And so here are just a few pictures of my friends. And on the top right is a picture of my friends and I at the Health Sciences Students Association Gala. So the HSSA hosts an annual gala for all health sciences students to kind of just like have a social night out and have fun with each other. So there's something to look forward to. That's definitely something that you should take part in once you get into first year here. And with that, I will pass it on to Carolyn.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that awesome description, Noelle. Yeah, so just moving on to myself. So I'm an HSOC major. My concentration is in sociology. So if you don't know, health and society majors have to declare a social science concentration when they're entering their second year. There are many options, but I ultimately decided to go with sociology. And I'm additionally doing a double major in international Indigenous studies. And what that means is basically instead of just only doing the health and society major within the BHSC degree, I'm also obtaining a Bachelor of Arts majoring in international Indigenous studies, which you can do a combined major in 5 years, which is pretty great, getting 2 bachelors in that time. And this is just a photo of me at the Sustainable Development Goals Summit 2021. So that's something that I've been heavily involved in throughout my undergraduate experience. I have really tried to get involved not only in research, but also extracurriculars in leadership positions. And it's also the picture that I use whenever I have to use a picture of myself for anything. Next slide, please. So just moving on to, because we said we depict the past 2 to 3 years, I'm kind of moving on to my second year in this picture. Like the bioinformatics program, the health and society program is super tight knit. We're not as tiny as bioinformatics, but we're very small in comparison to biomedical sciences. So there's a lot of opportunity to create a community and make really close friends. So this is a picture of me and my group members when we were taking our health sciences statistics course, just being very silly. But I'm still friends with all of these people to this day. And then looking at this other photo, just COVID, I think reflecting on our experiences during COVID, I was able to do some school from Victoria during that time, which was very fun. Next slide, please. And I included this picture just to reiterate the community created by the Health and Society program. So these are all Health and Society people at the HISA Gala in 2022. So the Health Sciences Student Association is a student-led group serving the health sciences students that put on loads of events and provide really awesome resources. So annually they host a gala event, super fancy schmancy, a lot of fun, and a great opportunity to connect with your peers. Next slide. So moving on to some stuff that has happened this past year. So as I mentioned, I've been pretty involved in not only research, but also extracurriculars. So I thought I'd include this photo of myself doing an Insight Speaker Series workshop with the Scholars Academy program, which is also a great opportunity to get involved in leadership and extracurricular everything, really, if you're interested. I did a workshop on value in healthcare, and at the BHSC Research Symposium this past year, where I was very lucky to be selected as an oral presenter and just talk about some of my work. And those are the other presenters as well. Next slide.
All right. Thanks, Carolyn, for talking about HSOC. I saw Tharwat's thing in the chat. It seems like one person is in bioinformatics and the rest are in biomedical sciences. I think that happens like for everything. Biomed takes up the majority of the health sciences program. So I'll talk a bit about my experiences in biomed. The picture on the left is me working in a biosafety cabinet. If you guys don't have experience with a biosafety cabinet already, it's essentially a sterilized place where you can culture cells, do infections, do a lot of experiments, and it essentially creates a barrier between the outside and the inside environment. So if you work in an immunology lab, as I do, you'll be working in these biosafety cabinets a lot. And then on the right, it's just a picture of my friend and I imaging. So imaging is another important part in biomedical sciences research. And you have, like, once you do all this stuff at a cellular level, you have to image them because we can't view them with our own eyes, right? So we have to use a whole bunch of microscopes. Moving on, I'll talk a bit about some of the fun things in health sciences. So the picture on the right is a picture of my friend and I at the HISA Gala, this year's HISA Gala. It's a really fun event. The Health Sciences Students Association, Noel talked briefly about it, but it's essentially just a club led by health sciences students from all different faculty, from all three streams. And we just get together, make fun events for the health sciences students to de-stress and relax. And then on the left is the statistics project for MDSC 407. Carolyn also put a picture of her with her group. And I just wanted to show what we're doing. So we're making a business article and talking about some of the statistics that are involved in the workplace and talking about workplace retention. So overall, like, you get a lot of opportunities to make connections and do group projects. I think that's a huge part of health sciences in general, is working in teams, and you'll get really used to it in probably at least a year or two. And then also another fun thing that we did is for MDSC 351, it's a course that's required for all second year biomeds and bioinformatics, if I remember correctly. And essentially, it's a cellular and molecular biology course where you learn about all this, like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, like actin filaments, like all these biomedical things. And at the end, you get to choose a novel problem and you get to answer it in a creative way. So for us, our group, we talked about MAMs. If I'm being honest, I cannot tell you what MAMs are, but we made a song, a country song, and did a line dance on the top of Nose Hill. And we actually uploaded it on Spotify. So, like, the point of this is just that health sciences is not just like doing labs and doing research all the time. There are a lot of fun opportunities that you get to work in groups and really kind of show your creativity. And then outside of school, I'm involved in a club called Man Up for Mental Health, which aims at reducing gender barriers in accessing mental health resources, promoting safe drinking, and connecting students who've had shared experiences. So the picture on the most left is our event called Liftoff. And what we essentially do is set up a whole bunch of weights and bench presses in Mac Hall. And we physically lift the burden of mental health. It's a metaphor for like sharing the load. And we get a lot of turnout, and you can come in, just lift some weights and essentially contribute to a greater U of C campus community. And then the picture in the middle is just us promoting one of our events. We work with a campaign called Buddy Up, which aims at promoting men's mental health. And we just had some of their merch and like stickers and resources, and we're just taking a picture with them. And then another thing on the right so this is a picture of me in Korea. I had the opportunity to do an exchange at Korea University over the summer. I think, like health sciences, you're always at Foothills or at main campus, but I think really taking the opportunity to try out a new thing, go to a different country, and go on a global exchange is a really great opportunity. So if you do have the opportunity to do so, I would 100% recommend going on an exchange. I know Carolyn is going this summer, and yeah, it's really great. So if you do have the opportunity, 100% take it. Probably one of the best things I've done in health sciences, overall. And then finally, I just wanted to show you guys what some of my research looked like, just because like biomedical sciences is so like wet lab research based. So on the left, the most left image is so these cells are macrophages, and the dye in blue is the nucleus. I'm sure everyone's heard of the nucleus. And then the thing in the red is actually the mitochondria. So on the left, you see the very fused network of mitochondria. And then on the image on the right is after the mitochondria, after you expose them to a very, very pathogenic and invasive E. coli. So this just is some of my research. I'm looking at how macrophages, mitochondria change in response to E. coli. And then on the left, then on the right, we have a picture of a chicken embryo, which might seem weird, but for one of our courses called MDSC 402, it's a research-based course. And we get the opportunity to work with model organisms such as chicken embryos, flies, snails, worms, and something else I can't remember. But either way, you get to work with the model organism and answer a question. So we're looking at how an antidepressant changes the blood vessels that you see on the right in chicken embryos. So overall, you get a really great opportunity to answer research questions that you've been curious about. And there's a lot of support from BHSC, especially in terms of funding for research. So you get to work this and get paid. So yeah, I think that's kind of a recap of what I've went through in biomedical sciences. Go on to the next slide. We have a video from the University of Calgary that they wanted us to share.
I'm just going to try to cue that up really quickly. Sorry.
No, I'll freeze.
Yeah, she did.
Do any of you have that video?
All right, guys, my Wi-Fi is a little.
There you go. Do either of you have the
I will try to share that now. 1 second.
The sound's not working, I don't think.
Oh, is it not?
Oh, wait.
UCalgary mascot.
Oh, it's working. It's working.
This incoming class is looking dynamite. Cheering for dinos is my thing. Without you guys, I'd be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's called the Jurassic Measures, so I've got a some challenge just for you. Keep an eye on your inbox. I'll post details shortly. This challenge will be online, not in the field, so you won't have to worry about getting dinosaur. My challenge, and you'll enter to win the UCalgary Rex's Challenge Award between $1,000 and $2,500 Canadian dollars. Sure, watch your email for more instructions after the event. Go Dinos!
Okay, and that is the next challenge.
All right. Yeah, if you could pull up the PowerPoint again, Noel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really corny, but essentially we had to show that video, and it's essentially a way for you to enter the UCalgary challenge and potentially win $1,000 to $2,500 Canadian dollars. So the next question, Tharwa kind of asked this already, but it seems like most of you guys are in biomedical sciences. So let's just move on to the next slide. Yeah, well, so we'll have a roundtable discussions. We'll talk about the differences and similarities between the majors, common experiences with our first year courses, our favorite class of our degree, research and what we do, and then what do we do outside of school, and then one piece of advice we have to give. After that, we'll have a Q&A session where you guys can ask whatever you want to ask.
Okay, so to start off our roundtable discussions, we're just going to start talking about the differences and similarities between our majors. So I'll start off with the similarities and more of the specifics about bioinformatics, and then I'll pass it on to Brian and Carolyn to talk about their majors. So more so with the similarities, we all have these combined medical science courses, MedSci 203, 205, and MedSci 308. And those are combined between the HSOCs, biomeds, and bioinformatics. So it's an opportunity to meet all the other majors in health sciences. And basically, these courses are just to help you develop those foundational research skills, how to write research papers, how to approach problems from a research perspective. And so those are mostly what those courses teach. But on the bioinformatics side of things specifically, I would say that bioinformatics students work very closely with biomedical sciences students. We have a lot of combined classes, such as genetics, honor cellular, molecular, and microbial biology, as Brian mentioned earlier. But the thing about bioinformatics that makes it different is that we also branch out into computer science as well. And so we learn how to approach different problems from a computational perspective. And so basically what this allows us to do is it allows us to gain perspective outside of BHSC2. It allows us to work with computer science majors, software engineers, data science majors. And as the smallest major, it also gives you that sort of the opportunity to build like sort of a unique skill set in data analytics and computer science. But also it allows for interdisciplinary work that allows you to combine medicine and also computer science to answer complex questions. And that's another really cool part about bioinformatics is that since we do a lot of computer science courses, you can actually branch out into a double major in computer science, a minor in computer science, or a minor in data science, whatever you're interested in really. And I think another major where you can do that in health science where there's actually concentrations is HSOC. So with that, I'll pass it on to Carolyn.
Yeah, so health and society is also super interdisciplinary. That's like a main, I would say similarity in between the three majors is there are so many research and career opportunities that you can take. Further, you will work with the other majors no matter what major you're in, but especially in health and society, you're seeking to understand perspectives from many disciplines, including the other majors within the program. And there's really, I would say the focus in health and society is looking at upstream health problems. So instead of looking at how to treat the health problem once it's occurred, it's how do we prevent this health problem from even happening in the first place. There's a big variety in concentrations that you can do within the health and society program. So off the top of my head, I believe it's anthropology, geography, political science, community rehab, disability studies, sociology, psychology. I'm probably missing one or two, but there is a lot of opportunity to explore within the concentrations and apply that to your major. It does really feel like a community within the health and society program, and I think that that's really common among all three majors, even within, not just within our students, but also our staff. Our support program is just so excellent. Of course, a notable difference is that we have HSOC specific classes that are pretty small, but super important to the health and society program and for kind of solidifying the HSOC specific FAM. And also in health and society, there are really unique research opportunities you might not necessarily get within the other majors, just due to our focus on health at a population level. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Carolyn and Noelle said about the similarities. Overall, the community is really great. and we get a lot of opportunities to have interdisciplinary research. So for example, a biomed could get involved in HSOC and bioinformatics research and really have an interdisciplinary understanding of science, which I think is probably one of the best things about health sci, that we get that opportunity to try out so many different things with a supportive staff. In terms of the differences, like in the name biomedical sciences, so in first year, you'll be taking a lot of science courses, chem, math, or chem, biophysics for both semesters. And then in second year, you'll be taking like immunology, genetics, cell bio, OChem 1, OChem 2, and biochem. So I think that's what kind of separates us as biomeds from like some of the different programs. And then in third year, we get even more specific into biomedical research, where you get the opportunity to work with model organisms such as I do with the chicken embryos, and then also learn about physiology physiology and like biological processes, and then also get specialized in more advanced genetics, advanced immuno. So overall, we're a lot more science-based, obviously. And there are a lot of unique research opportunities as there are in the other programs as well, and that are specific to what you're interested in. So health sciences, or the Cummings School of Medicine as a whole, has so many different research institutes that you can get involved in based on your interest. For example, like cardiovascular research, neuroscience research, immunology research, cancer research. There are so many different fields that you can get involved in.
So to talk a little bit about our experiences with first year classes, I know Brian and we started our first year entirely online over Zoom. Obviously you guys will be in person, so it's going to be very different. But I'd say more so as a bioinformatics student specifically, I would say that the courses that stood out to me the most were our first year bioinformatics course. It was just applications in bioinformatics course, and just learned very briefly about what bioinformatics was and about some basic bioinformatics tools as well. But then we also got that exposure to foundational sciences as well, biology, chemistry, very similar to the biomeds as well. And then we also had computer science courses as well. And I think that's kind of what stood out to me as one of the major components of my first year of university, because I had no prior computer science experience before I entered university. And so learning how to code was definitely a challenge on its own. And I would say that's one of the things that stood out to me most about bioinformatics. But the nice part is that since our major is so small and you do form those close friends in bioinformatics, you can form a really good support system. So if you're ever struggling with it, there are people that you can ask for help in tutorials and in your classmates as well. So definitely take advantage of those resources. And then Brian or Carolyn, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was lucky enough to start my first year in person. I think that Health and Society has a bit of flexibility in your first year, because you do have the opportunity to pick from different first year concentration courses as your options. So there's a bit of selection there. You do in Health and Society take like first year biology throughout, which is, I think, super, super important. But the main focus within the shared classes, particularly MedSci 203 and 205, is writing academically and reading academic literature. You're also taught how to utilize library resources. You're connected with the health sciences librarians. You're taught how to search for academic literature within databases, reference managing, etc. Further group work skills and presentation skills are foundational for the rest of your degree, and you're definitely set up for success in that regard within 203 and 205. And for HSOC specifically, you do take Health and Society 201, which basically just introduces you to health and society and the various social science perspectives that you can use to target health from an upstream approach, and kind of goes through all the concentrations so you have a better idea of maybe what you want to do. And it's just a great opportunity all the group work that's done, particularly in 203 and 205, is a really great opportunity to just make some friends and connect with other people in the program because you spend quite a bit of time together. Don't know if you want to add anything, Brian.
Oh no, yeah, I think everything that both of you guys said is completely valid. I think the learning how to write scientifically and analyze literature, like scientific literature, and using reference managers is probably like the biggest thing you'll gain in first year, in my opinion, just because in second, third, fourth year, you'll be reading like millions of scientific articles. So if you can't get those skills down in first year, it's going to be really difficult for you. And then, yeah, so that's what we get out of the MDSD 203 and 205 courses that all majors take. And then in terms of the other courses, you take all the sciences that I've mentioned. So chem, bio, physics for both semesters, and then math and English. So yeah, it's kind of like high school, but obviously harder because it's in a university setting and more high stakes. So it's really important to develop the proper time management skills in first year, because your second year will be a lot harder with like immunology, genetics, organic chemistry 1 and 2, and biochem.
Thank you, Carol and Brian, for sharing your experiences. So we're going to move on to a poll now. So what topics are you most interested in learning about? You can drop them into the chat. I know when I first started my first year, I was really interested in learning about cancer biology and also parasitology. And I'm doing research in parasitology right now, so that's pretty interesting. But if you have any topics you're interested in learning about, like medical science, social determinants of health, computer science, physiology, feel free to drop them into the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, I see you're in biomedical sciences, so there's a lot of opportunity for you to do research in those areas as well. I think that's the really nice part about health sciences is that you can do research in any area of research that you're interested in and kind of specialize in that. And if anyone else has anything to drop, otherwise we will move on to the next slide. Brain research. Oh, cool. Okay, so maybe like neuroscience. Oh, nice. Yeah, there's the Hotchkiss Brain Institute. I think a lot of neuroscience research goes on there. Computer science. I wish I could say the same. Computer science is not one of my strong suits, but I respect your decision. Okay, awesome. I will move on to the next slide now.
Awesome. So just talking about our favorite courses of our degree, I will start. So this answer has changed from last year because I've had the opportunity to take some more advanced courses. And I think this is generally the case throughout the degree as you get rewarded as you move through with more specific and super interesting classes. So the first one that I wanted to talk about was if I had to pick an overarching favorite, honestly, this will be a very unpopular response, but thesis was great. I just defended my honors thesis yesterday, which is something everybody here will do. They move on to fourth year in the program. I think that it was just such a challenge, but so valuable and rewarding. I got so much out of it. I learned so much about research and my field of research, specifically looking at health data equity, specifically pertaining to Indigenous communities. It's just so fascinating. I learned so much. Honorable mentions include Health and Society of 591, which I'm also finishing up right now, which is the seminar capstone for Health and Society. Just super fascinating. Also a challenge, but extremely rewarding. And then my honorable mention is my Indigenous Studies 503 course, which was Advanced Topics in International Indigenous Studies, in which we looked at international Indigenous film. And I got the opportunity to do a project on Indigenous film in Colombia, which was just great. It's very interesting. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Noelle.
Yeah, so for me, I would say the courses that I enjoyed the most were probably my bioinformatics specific courses. I realized that in my first year class, actually MedSci 201, that I actually really enjoyed bioinformatics. And in that course, we just learned about some of the basics of bioinformatics, different bioinformatics tools. I think I mentioned that previously, but I would say one of the classes that I really liked the most was MedSci 523, Artificial Intelligence Applications in Health. In that course, we just got to work with different data, machine learning algorithms and techniques to and different classification techniques to, and I use it to actually create my own research projects to determine different factors involved in heart failure. And so the really nice part about these bioinformatics specific classes is that in every course, you get to use the content that you learned in the course to kind of create your own unique project. So we also had other courses such as MedSci 403, which is called Computation for Bioinformatics. And that's an introduction to R. And so we did R-based research project. And I'm currently in the class called MedSci 519, which is Advanced Bioinformatics. And that class, we learn about different sequencing techniques, mostly RNA sequencing, single cell sequencing, and we get to conduct our own unique projects using those techniques as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn in bioinformatics. And I think to kind of explore what areas of research you're interested in. And I think with bioinformatics, especially to actually develop skills in the field is to practice research. So if you are a bioinformatics major, I highly recommend doing research over the summer because it's really going to help you out in your upper year courses. And I'll pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, so my favorite course, I think, is MDSC 203. The picture on the screen is my friend and I in class in Theater 1, which is where you'll probably have MDSC 203 and 205 in your first year. So get used to this room. You'll have it for a lot of courses. And yeah, so MDSC 203 is just a really foundational course. And you learn a lot of the techniques that you need for scientific research in second and third and fourth year. So I think really taking advantage of talking to your TAs, learning how to write, learning how to read academic articles and use reference managers is really important. And it'll really set you up for what's coming in the next few years. So take advantage of that opportunity. Even if you might not do too amazing on the first paper or first graded assignment, use that like energy to kind of talk to your TA about what went wrong, what you could have done better, instead of just being stagnant. So I think really starting off on a positive note for 203 is gonna do you well in your undergraduate career.
Yeah, awesome. So with that, oopsies. Just a quick poll. Have you ever had research experience? So A, it's yes, B, no, C, no, but I want to try it out, and D, I don't even know what research is. Okay, so interestingly, I'm seeing a few A's, lots of C's, which is totally okay. So I didn't have any research experience at all when I entered into the BHSC program, but you get exposed to tons of opportunities. And if you have research experience like Noelle, great, those skills will serve you loads within the program. But if you don't have any research experience, you're not at any disadvantage within the program specifically. You are really equipped with all the skills that you need. Next slide, please. So we're just going to wrap this up. We want to be finished by about 9:50, so we have time for some questions. But just quickly going over research and our experiences. So on the left is a picture of me presenting at a conference in Vancouver this past year on some of my honors thesis work, which is looking at Indigenous data, health data equity in Alberta. But I also have research experience with medical school education, researching that. And I've done some course-based work looking at various different topics, like I mentioned, Indigenous film in Colombia, as well as suicide in Inuit communities. And I'll pass it on to Noelle to talk about it. And then
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to start my research experience back in high school. And I basically worked at a bioinformatics lab at the Ownership and No Cancer Institute. And I continued that research into my second year, halfway through my second year. I worked with different computational tools to identify transcription factors responsible for tumor cell invasion in glioblastoma patients. And then I recently switched my research over to work in veterinary medicine and parasitology, just because I wanted to do research that covers a more broad area. And actually, in a few weeks, I will be traveling to Edinburgh in Scotland to present at a research conference there. So exciting things. And I'll pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I talked a bit about my own research in the slides before, so I won't really talk about it too much here. I'll just say that if you do a lot of biomedical sciences research in immunology, you'll be working with pipettes and like a lot of test tubes and the plates you see here where you put your cells on. So yeah, be open-minded in your first year and try out a lot of new things, and don't be afraid to email professors if you're interested in their research.
yeah, so just very quickly before we wrap things up, we do have lives outside of school. I think that there's a perception that Bachelor of Health Sciences is overly, you'll just be doing school all the time. That's definitely not true. We do definitely have lives outside of school. I love to hike. I love to travel. I'm an obsessive reader. Yeah, I'm huge into outdoor stuff. I have time to go to the mountains. I'm also involved in a lot of extracurricular volunteering. So I do have a nonprofit organization, as well as being the co-chair for the Sustainable Development Goals Alliance at the University of Calgary, in addition to some other volunteering. But I like overarchingly, I just want to note that it is important to take time for yourself and to have time to reset. But Noelle, if you just want to continue, and then Brian.
Yeah, for sure. So for myself, the picture on the left is just a random picture of me just chilling. I thought it was kind of funny, so I included it. But other than that, I kind of just I like to sing and play instruments in my spare time as hobbies, and then I also volunteer as well, like Carolyn. Just part of a few different clubs, leading a few different initiatives at UFC. So there's always a lot that you can take part in, and the BHC program also does a really good job at advertising different volunteer opportunities for you to partake in as well. And I'll pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, so outside of school, I ref hockey. That's probably one of my most favorite things to do. And then, yeah, volunteering, contributing to your community, all big things that you should be doing, in my opinion. But obviously always taking the time to relax and reset, because health sciences is really busy. So yeah, just remember to take time for yourself and make sure that your mental health is as important as your physical health. So moving on to the Q&A kind of portion, what is one topic that you wish you could ask an upper year about? I know we gave everyone just a whole bunch of information today. So if you guys do have any questions that you'd like to ask, we can kind of orient our advice in the next slide based on what you guys say in the chat. So feel free to ask any kind of question. Don't be afraid. I remember feeling that way in my first year. So okay, could you expand a little more on how to get research positions as a BHSC student? Okay, we'll talk about that in our advice. Yeah, I'll focus my advice on that. Studying for the MCAT. Do you have any plans? Okay. Well, man, we'll talk about that later. I think Carolyn has to leave right now, but yeah, we'll take it on from here. If you want to say any parting words, Carolyn.
Yes, don't be afraid. Don't stress about the MCAT right now. That's you have more things to stress about. Just to be specific before that. Yeah. If anyone's coming in person, I'll see you at 1 p.m. Otherwise, have a great day.
I think
Okay.
we'll probably answer the questions maybe in the questions slide a little bit down, but
Yeah,
then
sure.
I guess like just from Brian and I, if we just could give you any advice, like what we wish we knew before we entered first year. I think for myself, it was that like I remember when I started first year, I felt like I wasn't qualified enough to be in the program, or that I didn't actually have like the right skill set to be in the program. But it's important to know that if you got into BHSC, you're more than capable of excelling in the program, and that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. And kind of like I had a feeling of imposter syndrome, and that feeling will pass eventually, and you'll get more adjusted to university and develop new skills and experiences that will make it all worth it. So ultimately, just put your best foot forward, be confident in your abilities, and it's really all about improving at the end of the day. And Brian, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I'll kind of orient my advice based on the questions that we've gotten. So MCAT, don't worry about that now. Like as Carolyn talked about, like BHSC is a research program. So you should be focusing your studies on research. But a lot of people in health sciences do write the MCAT, and that's something for later. In terms of the getting involved in research, so how I got involved in research is through the BHSC mentorship program, which is really huge. It's probably one of the best things I've ever gotten from BHSC. So in first year, there's a survey that Tharwat sends out, and you essentially just fill out the form and say, oh, I'm interested in this type of research, blah, 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 blah. And then there are mentors from all different faculties who match, and Tharwat matches you based on your interests. And then I met my research PI or supervisor through that program, and I asked if I could join their lab. So that's how I got it. There are other ways to do it, such as cold emailing. So essentially just emailing a whole bunch of profs. Oh, I'm interested in your research. Is it possible that I could talk a bit more about what you do and potentially do a summer studentship? And then once you do that, you can apply for funding so that you get paid for the summer. So you don't have to just work for 4 months or 2 months or however long and then get no money. And BHSC is really great with that funding. Yeah, so we have a few more minutes. So if you can scan this QR code to confirm your participation for the event, I'm pretty sure you will get early registration if you fill out this form. So 100% do that. Course selection really sucks, especially in second and third year. So having the opportunity to have early registration is really great. So scan this QR code, fill out the survey, and yeah, we'll move on to the final question slide. Yeah, so any last questions or concerns about the program? Like anything you're looking forward to? Anything you're scared?